Every single one of us has been hurt by someone, maybe a friend, a partner, a colleague, or even a family member. And in that moment of pain, we stand at a crossroads, either let that hurt define us or use it as fuel to transform who we become. When someone hurts you, the very first instinct we all have is to react immediately. The words fly out of our mouths, the anger rises in our chest, the tears begin to form, and our body automatically switches into defense mode. But here is what most of us don't realize: the moment we react instantly, we give away our power. We hand over control of our inner state to the very person who just wounded us. That's why the first and most important step is to pause before reacting. Pausing doesn't mean you are weak. It doesn't mean you are ignoring what happened. And it doesn't mean you are letting someone get away with their behavior. It means you are giving yourself the gift of space, the gift of clarity, and the gift of emotional control. Because in that pause, even if it's only for a few seconds, you shift from being an unconscious reactor to a conscious creator of your response. Imagine someone says something cruel to you. If you fire back immediately, you are letting their energy dictate your energy. But if you breathe deeply, even count to 10, you begin to separate your true self from the surge of emotion. The pause is where wisdom lies. The pause is where you access perspective. The pause is where you ask yourself, do I want to give this moment my peace, or do I want to keep my peace intact? Most people never take that pause, and because of it, they live trapped in patterns of regret, saying things they don't mean, doing things that later cause guilt, and allowing wounds to deepen instead of heal. When you pause, you also give your brain time to move from the emotional center, the survival mode, into the higher part of the brain where reason, logic, and compassion live. And that's the place where the best decisions are made. You begin to see that your reaction doesn't have to be dictated by the intensity of the pain. You are not a puppet of someone else's behavior. You are the one who decides how long the hurt stays inside you and how much power it holds over you. So the next time you feel that heat rising, that sting in your chest, that immediate urge to lash out, remember, silence for a few seconds is not weakness, it's mastery. A pause is not avoidance, it's strength. That small moment of holding back is the bridge between staying trapped in the old cycle of hurt and stepping into a new state of freedom. Because when you learn to pause before reacting, you begin to take your power back, and no one can hurt you in the same way again. One of the most damaging things we do to ourselves after being hurt is replaying the story in our minds over and over again. You know that cycle? Lying in bed, replaying what they said, hearing those words echo, imagining what you should have said back, or picturing the scene again and again like a movie stuck on repeat. Every time you replay it, you are not just remembering the pain, you are reliving it. Your brain and body don't know the difference between something happening in reality and something you're vividly imagining. So each replay floods you with the same emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, over and over, long after the actual event has ended. That's why detaching from the story is such a powerful step in healing. When you detach, you're not pretending it didn't happen. You're not dismissing the reality of the wound. You are simply saying, I will not keep carrying this experience into the present moment again and again. Because every time you carry it, you are handing it more of your energy, more of your time, more of your peace. Think about it: the event itself may have lasted a few minutes, maybe a few hours, but your mind can stretch that pain into days, weeks, even years, simply by replaying the story. At some point, the story becomes heavier than the original wound. Detachment is about recognizing that your mind wants to hold on, but you don't have to let it. You can watch those thoughts like clouds passing by instead of climbing into every cloud and being carried away by it. You can remind yourself, this story is not me. This story is not my identity. This story is just an event that happened, and I choose not to let it live rent free in my mind anymore. By doing that, you create space between who you truly are and what you went through. You reclaim your identity from the grip of the past. Many people believe holding on to the story will somehow protect them. They think, if I keep remembering how badly I was hurt, I'll never let it happen again. But the truth is, clinging to the story doesn't protect you, it poisons you. It keeps your nervous system on alert, your heart on edge, and your trust locked away. Detaching means you stop letting the wound define your present reality. It's a conscious choice to say, that moment belongs to yesterday, and I am living in today. The real strength comes when you can see the story, acknowledge it, honor the lesson it brought, and then step out of it. You are not erasing it, you are rewriting your relationship with it. The story no longer controls how you wake up in the morning, how you see yourself, or how you treat others. You take the power back from the memory by refusing to replay it like a broken record. That's when you start to feel lighter, freer, and more connected to who you truly are. So often, when someone hurts us, our entire focus goes to what they did, how unfair it was, and how much it wounded us. And of course, that pain is real. But here's a truth that begins to shift everything. People who hurt others are almost always carrying deep hurt themselves. Think about it. A person who feels whole, secure, and at peace with themselves has no desire to tear others down. A person who truly loves and values who they are doesn't find joy in belittling or damaging another. Behind harsh words, behind betrayal, behind rejection, there is almost always a wound that person hasn't healed, an emptiness they are trying to fill, or an inner battle they are losing. When you start to understand this, not excuse it, but understand it, the weight of the pain begins to lift. You stop taking everything so personally. You realize that many of the arrows aimed at you weren't really about you at all. They were about the inner chaos inside the one who fired them. If someone lashes out in anger, often it's because they are drowning in anger toward themselves. If someone criticizes you constantly, many times it's because they can't live with their own feelings of inadequacy, so they project them onto you. If someone betrays your trust, perhaps it's because they never learned how to trust themselves or others in the first place. By seeing their pain, you give yourself the power to step outside the trap of victimhood. Because here's what usually happens. We keep asking ourselves, why did they do this to me? Why me? But when you begin to see that it wasn't really about you, it frees you from carrying the poison of blame. It shifts the perspective from, I'm not enough, to, they were not healed. That's a massive difference. It doesn't mean you tolerate toxic behavior. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. What it means is that you stop giving their actions permission to define your worth. This understanding also begins to awaken compassion, and compassion is one of the most liberating states you can live in. Compassion doesn't erase what they did, but it allows you to release the grip of bitterness that keeps you chained to the event. You can say to yourself, I see that this person was acting from their pain. I don't have to absorb it. I don't have to mirror it. I don't have to let it live inside me. That shift is not for them, it's for you. Because compassion heals the heart while resentment keeps it bleeding. When you understand the pain behind people's actions, you also protect yourself more wisely. Instead of being shocked again and again by someone's behavior, you begin to expect that a wounded person may act in wounded ways. That awareness helps you set better boundaries, to step back when you need to, and to stop personalizing every offense. You see them for what they are, a human being in struggle, not as the ultimate authority on your value or your future. And perhaps the most powerful part is this: when you understand their pain, you stop recycling it in your own life. Hurt people, but healed people, aware people, conscious people, they break the cycle. They say, the pain stops here. And that choice begins with the courage to see beyond the surface of someone's hurtful actions and recognize the deeper wound driving them. That's where true freedom is born. There comes a moment after being hurt when you realize that forgiveness and understanding are not the same as allowing people to repeatedly cross your limits. And this is where boundaries become absolutely essential. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are doors that you choose when and how to open. They are not punishments, they are protections. They are your way of saying, my heart, my mind, my energy, and my peace are valuable, and I will not allow them to be trampled on again and again. Too often, people confuse kindness with endless tolerance. They think being spiritual or compassionate means they must accept every behavior, no matter how damaging. But in reality, the most powerful act of self-respect and self-love is to set clear boundaries when someone shows you that their behavior is harmful. When someone hurts you and you keep allowing access without any boundaries, You send a silent message that it's acceptable for them to keep doing the same thing. But when you calmly and firmly create a line, you communicate not only to them, but to yourself that you are worthy of respect. Boundaries are not about controlling the other person. They are about controlling the space you allow yourself to live in. You cannot change someone else's nature, but you can decide how much of it you are willing to invite into your life. Setting a boundary may look like limiting the time you spend with certain people, choosing not to share your deepest truths with someone who consistently uses them against you, or even walking away entirely from environments that drain and demean you. Boundaries may be spoken out loud. I will not accept being spoken to this way, or they may be silent choices you make, deciding not to respond to every text, deciding to leave when the energy becomes toxic, deciding not to explain yourself to someone who only wants to argue. Every boundary you draw strengthens the foundation of your inner peace. The challenge is that many of us feel guilty for setting boundaries. We worry that it makes us selfish or unkind. But think about this: when you let people continually overstep and wound you, you carry resentment. That resentment leaks into your relationships, into your work, into your energy. In the long run, it causes more damage than a firm boundary ever would. Boundaries are not about shutting out love. They are about making room for healthier, more genuine love to enter. They are about clearing space for people who honor you, not just use you. And here's something important: people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. People who don't respect them reveal exactly why those boundaries were necessary in the first place. Boundaries have a way of shining light on the truth of relationships. They show you who is capable of walking with you respectfully and who is only there to take advantage of your openness. So when you set boundaries, do it without anger, do it without vengeance, but do it with clarity and firmness. Imagine them like a fence around a beautiful garden. You are not keeping the world out. You are protecting the flowers within. You are ensuring that the beauty inside you can bloom without being trampled. And when you live with boundaries, you are no longer afraid of who might hurt you, because you have built the strength to decide who gets access to your soul and who does not. That is not cruelty. That is wisdom, that is healing, and that is power. When someone hurts you, it is very easy to fall into the trap of seeing yourself only as the victim. You replay the betrayal, the insult, the rejection, and you keep telling yourself the story: they did this to me, they ruined this for me, they broke me. And while those words may feel true in the moment, living in that mindset keeps you stuck. The victim mindset chains you to the past and convinces you that your future has already been written by someone else's actions. But the truth is, you are not powerless. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are not simply a victim. You are a creator. And the moment you shift from victim to creator, your entire life begins to change. What does this shift mean? It means you stop waiting for someone else to apologize before you allow yourself to heal. It means you stop waiting for closure from the very person who broke you. It means you stop letting your identity revolve around the pain. Instead, you ask yourself, what can I build from this? Who can I become because of this? What strength can I create from what tried to destroy me? That is the mindset of a creator. A victim keeps asking, why did this happen to me? But a creator asks, how can I use this to grow? When you see yourself as the creator, the hurt no longer becomes the end of your story. It becomes the beginning of a new chapter. The pain becomes raw material, something you can mold into wisdom, compassion, strength, or even purpose. Think about the people who inspire you most. Rarely are they people who lived lives without hardship. They are people who took their wounds and turned them into medicine, who took their challenges and turned them into breakthroughs. The same is possible for you. This shift also changes your energy. When you see yourself as a victim, your energy is heavy, hopeless, dependent. You wait for life to change you. But when you step into the role of a creator, your energy becomes magnetic, powerful, full of possibility. You stop waiting and you start moving. You stop focusing on what was taken and you start focusing on what can be built. And here's the beautiful thing: when you live as a creator, the very people who once hurt you no longer hold the keys to your joy. They no longer dictate your future. They become a chapter in your past, but you are holding the pen now. You are writing the rest of the book. Does this mean you ignore the pain or pretend it didn't happen? Absolutely not. The pain is real. But instead of letting it define you, you use it to refine you. Instead of saying, because they hurt me, I am broken, you say, because they hurt me, I found my strength. Because they hurt me, I discovered who I really am. Because they hurt me, I created a new version of myself that is wiser, stronger, and freer. That is the essence of turning victimhood into creation. And the beauty of living this way is that life stops feeling like something that only happens to you, and it starts feeling like something you are actively shaping. You become the architect of your healing, the designer of your future, the creator of your destiny. No one gets to write the last word in your story but you. And once you embrace that no hurt, no betrayal, no rejection can ever keep you small again, because you've learned the greatest truth of all: what others do to you is out of your control, but what you create from it, that power belongs to you and you alone. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood parts of healing. When people hear the word forgiveness, they often think it means excusing the person who hurt them, letting them off the hook, or pretending the wound never happened. And because of that, many resist it. They say, how can I forgive after what they did? They don't deserve it. But here's the truth: forgiveness is not about whether they deserve it. Forgiveness is about whether you deserve peace. It is not for them, it is for you. It is the act of unchaining yourself from the weight of bitterness, resentment, and anger that keeps you bound to the past. Think about it like this: every time you hold on to anger, every time you replay the hurt, every time you refuse to forgive, you are carrying the person who hurt you around inside your heart and mind. They may have hurt you once, but by holding on, you let them hurt you again and again in your imagination. Forgiveness is you finally putting that burden down. It is saying, I refuse to carry you with me into my future. I release myself from this prison. But here's where it goes even deeper. True forgiveness also means forgiving yourself, because often underneath the pain, there's a quiet voice saying, I should have seen it coming. I should have been stronger. I should have walked away sooner. I should have known better. And those should haves become chains just as heavy as the resentment you feel toward the other person. Many people live years trapped in self-blame, thinking they are weak because they allowed themselves to be hurt. But the truth is, being hurt does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. It means you opened your heart, you trusted, you cared, and someone did not honor that. The strength is not in never being hurt. The strength is in choosing to heal even after the hurt. Forgiving yourself means looking at your past self with compassion, not condemnation. It means saying, I did the best I could with the knowledge and awareness I had at the time. I will not keep punishing myself for what I didn't know then. Instead, I will thank myself for surviving, for enduring, and for still standing today. That is a radical act of self-love. When you practice forgiveness for both others and yourself, you create space for new energy to flow in. Resentment is like a locked door. Nothing new can enter while it's shut tight. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that door, allowing love, peace, and even joy to find their way back to you. And remember, forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean you have to let that person back into your life. Forgiveness can happen silently, privately, in your own heart. It is about setting yourself free, not necessarily restoring what was broken. Some wounds may take years to fully forgive, and that's okay. Forgiveness is a process, not a single moment. Some days you may feel free, and other days the old pain may resurface. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you are still human. Each time you choose forgiveness, even if you must choose it 100 times, you are reclaiming more and more of your power. The most beautiful thing is that forgiveness lightens you. You start to feel like you can breathe again, like you can step forward without dragging the chains of the past behind you. It doesn't change what happened, but it changes how you carry it. And in the end, that is what healing truly is, not erasing the past, but transforming your relationship to it so that it no longer has the power to poison your present. Pain is one of life's greatest teachers, yet most of us see it only as a punishment. When someone hurts us, we get so caught up in the sting of the wound that we fail to recognize the gift hidden within it. Pain has the power to wake us up, to strip away illusions, to force us to confront parts of ourselves we might otherwise ignore. It has the ability to shape us into someone wiser, stronger, and more compassionate if we allow it. The key is not to run from pain, not to numb it, not to bury it deep inside, but to use it as fuel for growth. Think about it every time you have gone through something difficult. Some part of you expanded. Maybe you discovered patience you never knew you had. Maybe you found courage in the middle of fear. Maybe you realized what you will no longer tolerate, or you gained clarity about what truly matters to you. Pain is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also clarifying. It removes the noise. It teaches you to listen to your soul. It reminds you that you are capable of surviving more than you thought possible. When you begin to use pain as fuel, you shift from asking, "Why did this happen to me?" to "What is this trying to teach me?" That question alone changes everything. Suddenly, the wound becomes a mirror, showing you where your boundaries need to be stronger, where your self-worth needs to grow, where your heart is being called to expand. Every difficult experience within it a seed of transformation. Some of the greatest inventions, some of the deepest art, some of the most powerful spiritual awakenings have come not from moments of comfort, but from moments of heartbreak and struggle. To use pain as fuel means you stop letting it weaken you and start letting it strengthen you. It means instead of closing your heart, you let it grow bigger. Instead of becoming bitter, you become wiser. Instead of letting the pain build walls, you let it build resilience. It doesn't happen overnight. At first, the pain feels like it will swallow you. But little by little, if you lean into it, if you reflect on it, if you ask what it is teaching you, the pain begins to transform. It becomes energy, motivation, clarity. It becomes the very reason you rise higher than before. So many people spend years trying to avoid pain, numbing it with distractions, running from it through relationships, burying it under business. But avoidance only keeps you stuck. Growth comes when you face the pain, when you sit with it long enough to hear its message, and when you decide that it will not be the reason you shrink, but the reason you evolve. And here is the most empowering truth: pain does not have to define you, but it can refine you. It can burn away the unnecessary, leaving behind only what is strong, what is real, what is essential. Every scar you carry can become a symbol not of what broke you, but of what built you. You can look back and say, "That hurt me, but it also awakened me. That tried to crush me, but it also carved out my strength. That made me cry, but it also taught me how to rise." When you use pain as fuel for growth, the very thing that was meant to weaken you becomes the source of your power. You stop being afraid of challenges because you know that even in the darkest moments, something inside you is being shaped, prepared, and strengthened. And when you live with that awareness, you carry an unshakable confidence that no matter what happens, you can turn it into something that serves you. That is how pain transforms from an enemy into an ally. That is how hurt becomes the stepping stone toward the highest version of yourself. When someone wounds you deeply, the first emotions that rise up are usually anger, resentment, sadness, betrayal, or bitterness. These feelings are natural, they are part of being human. But the danger is when we allow those emotions to take up permanent residence in our hearts, because emotions are not just passing feelings, they are states of being. And the emotions you choose to live in create the reality you experience. If you continue to hold on to anger, you will keep attracting situations that feed that anger. If you remain in bitterness, you will see the world through the lens of bitterness. But here's the powerful truth: you can choose higher emotions. You can choose to move beyond the heaviness of what was done to you and step into emotions that lift you, expand you, and set you free. Choosing higher emotions doesn't mean denying what you feel. It doesn't mean pretending you aren't hurt. It means acknowledging the pain and then deciding not to stay trapped in it. Anger may visit you, but you don't have to give it a home. Sadness may pass through, but you don't have to let it chain you down. Choosing higher emotions means deliberately shifting your energy from the emotions that keep you stuck to the emotions that create healing. Emotions like gratitude, compassion, understanding, and even love. You may wonder, how can I feel gratitude when someone has hurt me so badly? Gratitude doesn't mean you are thankful for what they did. It means you are thankful for the strength you discovered in yourself because of it. Gratitude means saying, "This pain taught me something about who I am. It forced me to grow in ways I never would have otherwise. And for that lesson, I am grateful." That shift alone transforms your energy. It takes you out of the role of a victim and lifts you into the role of a creator. Compassion is another higher emotion. When you choose compassion, you stop feeding the cycle of hate with more hate. You recognize, as we talked about earlier, that people who hurt others are often deeply wounded themselves. Compassion does not mean you excuse their behavior, but it means you stop letting their behavior poison your soul. It means you look at them and say, I see your pain and I refuse to mirror it back. I will not become what hurt me. And love is perhaps the highest emotion of all. Love doesn't always mean love for the person who hurt you. It means love for yourself, love for your healing, love for the life you still get to create. Love is a frequency that transforms everything it touches. When you choose love over bitterness, you begin to see possibility again. You begin to feel light again. You begin to remember that your heart was made for more than holding on to wounds. It was made for connection, for joy, for peace. This shift into higher emotions is not always easy. The old emotions will try to pull you back. Anger will whisper, hold on to me, I'll keep you safe. Bitterness will say, don't let go, or you'll be hurt again. But those emotions are liars. They do not protect you, they imprison you. The courage is in saying, I choose something better. I choose to rise higher than what was done to me. I choose emotions that heal me instead of harm me. Every time you choose gratitude instead of resentment, every time you choose compassion instead of bitterness, every time you choose love instead of hate, you are rewriting the story of your life. You are no longer letting the one who hurt you dictate the energy you live in. You are reclaiming control over your inner world. And in the end, that is where true freedom lies, not in changing the past, but in choosing how you feel in the present. When you've been hurt, your environment becomes more important than ever. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in the atmosphere you create around yourself. Imagine a wound on your body. If you keep exposing it to dirt, to sharp objects, to poison, it will never close, it will only deepen. The same is true for emotional wounds. If you continue surrounding yourself with toxic people, with draining conversations, with environments that remind you of pain, your healing will be delayed. But if you begin to surround yourself with healing energy, people, places, and practices that lift your spirit, you create the conditions for your heart to mend. Healing energy comes first from the people you allow into your life. Some people will feed your wounds by constantly reminding you of them, gossiping about them, or keeping you stuck in the same cycle of negativity. But others will feed your soul by reminding you of your worth, by speaking life into you, by encouraging you when you forget your own strength. When you are hurting, it is essential to choose wisely who you spend your time with. Look for those who bring you peace instead of chaos, those who listen without judgment, those who believe in your ability to rise. Being around people who radiate love and kindness is like sunlight for the soul. It nourishes you in ways you can't always see, but you always feel. But healing energy is not just about people. It's also about the environments you step into. Ask yourself, does this place drain me or does it restore me? Sometimes you need to step away from familiar spaces that are heavy with memories and pain and place yourself in new environments that inspire you. Nature, for example, has a profound way of reminding us that healing is always possible. A forest, the ocean, the mountains, even a quiet walk in a park, all of these carry a vibration of renewal and calm. When you are hurting, time spent in these places is not a luxury, it is medicine. Healing energy is also found in the practices you choose daily. Meditation, prayer, journaling, breathing exercises, uplifting music, reading wisdom, filled words, all of these shape the atmosphere around your heart. They create stillness where clarity can rise. They help you reconnect with yourself, reminding you that you are more than the pain, more than the story, more than the wound. These practices infuse your days with moments of light, even when everything feels dark. And sometimes healing energy means creating boundaries with silence. Not every conversation needs to be had. Not every argument needs your reply. Not every battle needs your energy. Silence can be deeply healing. It gives your mind rest, your heart space, and your spirit a chance to reset. Surrounding yourself with healing energy means consciously choosing what you allow into your mental and emotional space, because everything you expose yourself to leaves an imprint. What happens over time is that this healing energy begins to shift your inner world. Slowly, The pain loses its grip. The heaviness begins to lift. You wake up feeling just a little lighter, just a little stronger, until one day you realize that the wound that once controlled you has been replaced by a new strength, a new peace, a new vision for your life. You did not force the healing, you simply created the right conditions for it. So be intentional about what and who you allow near you when you're in the process of healing. Just as a plant bends toward the light, your soul will always move toward whatever nourishes it. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your light, with environments that breathe life into you, with practices that restore your spirit, because the energy you choose to live in becomes the foundation of your healing and ultimately the foundation of your new life.